Hello, my little friends. Welcome to the Littlestory channel. I'm Bella. Have fun and learn with today's story. Remember, every story has something special to teach you. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you won't miss the new stories. Shall we begin? Yay! A Little Red Riding Hood's Adventure. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village surrounded by whispering trees and vibrant flowers, there lived a sweet girl known as Little Red Riding Hood. She was called this because of the bright red cloak her grandmother had sewn for her, which she wore every time she ventured out. One sunny morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother asked her to take a basket filled with goodies to her grandmother, who lived in a cottage deep in the forest. "Make sure to stay on the path and don't talk to strangers," her mother warned. With a nod and a smile, Little Red Riding Hood set off, her heart bubbling with excitement. As she walked along the winding path, the birds chirped cheerfully overhead, and the sunbeams danced through the leaves, creating a magical atmosphere. Little Red Riding Hood hummed a little tune, imagining her grandmother's delighted face when she saw the delicious treats. But as she ventured deeper into the woods, something caught her eye. A cluster of beautiful flowers lay just off the path, their colors brighter than a rainbow. Just a quick pick wouldn't hurt, she thought. So, she stepped off the path, carefully gathering the flowers, completely forgetting her mother's warning. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the trees. Little Red Riding Hood turned, her heart racing, and there he stood, the big bad wolf, his eyes glinting mischievously. "Well, hello there, little girl," he said, his voice smooth like honey. "What brings you to this part of the woods?" "I'm on my way to see my grandmother," she replied, trying to sound brave. But inside, she felt a flutter of fear. "I have to go." "Ah, but the flowers are so lovely. I can help you find even more beautiful ones if you follow me," the wolf suggested, flashing a toothy grin. Little Red Riding Hood hesitated, the warnings of her mother echoing in her mind. "What will happen if I follow him?" she wondered. Just then, a gentle breeze whispered through the trees, as if encouraging her to think carefully. As she pondered her decision, the wolf's gaze sharpened, and a mischievous idea flickered in his mind. "I'll take the shortcut to your grandmother's house," he said smoothly, already plotting how to get there first. Curiosity tugged at Little Red Riding Hood, and despite her better judgment, she found herself captivated by the wolf's words. "What if I miss something wonderful?" she thought. With a small sigh, she decided to trust her instincts. "No, thank you. I need to go see my grandmother," she declared firmly. The wolf's expression darkened for a moment, but then he smirked, his cunning nature resurfacing. "Very well, little girl. But let's see who gets there first." With that, he bounded off into the trees, leaving Little Red Riding Hood to wonder what would happen next. As she resumed her journey, Little Red Riding Hood felt a mix of fear and excitement. Will I make it to Grandma's house in time? What if the wolf is really as bad as everyone says? The forest grew denser, and shadows danced around her. Suddenly, she heard a rustling noise behind her. Was it the wolf? Was he following her? Her heart raced as she quickened her pace. The trees seemed to close in around her, and a sense of urgency filled the air. Just when she thought she could see the light from her grandmother's cottage peeking through the trees, she stumbled upon a mysterious clearing she had never seen before. In the center stood a large, ancient tree with twisted roots that seemed to beckon her closer. What could be hidden here, she wondered, her curiosity overpowering her fear. As she approached the tree, she heard a soft whispering, as if the tree itself was trying to tell her a secret. "What will I find?" she thought, reaching out to touch the gnarled bark. At that moment, a sudden noise startled her, and she spun around. The wolf was back, lurking just behind her with a grin that sent shivers down her spine. "Did you really think you could escape me, little girl?" he growled softly. Little Red Riding Hood stood frozen, her heart pounding as she faced the danger before her. The whispers from the tree grew louder, urging her to act. What would she do next? Would she outsmart the wolf and reach her grandmother's house safely, or would she uncover the secrets of the mysterious tree? And so, Little Red Riding Hood's adventure continued, filled with unexpected twists and the promise of new beginnings. What would she discover next? Little Red Riding Hood felt the weight of the wolf's gaze upon her, and in that moment, the whispers from the ancient tree became clearer, resonating in her mind like a soft melody. "Trust your heart, little one," they seemed to say. She took a deep breath, feeling a surge of courage. "Why are you here, wolf?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear thrumming in her chest. "I'm not afraid of you." The wolf chuckled, but there was a hint of surprise in his laughter. "Not afraid, you say? Most little girls tremble in my presence. But very well, let's make this interesting. If you can solve my riddle, I'll let you pass without a fuss. If you fail, however," his grin widened, revealing sharp teeth. "Well, we wouldn't want that, would we? What's your riddle?" Little Red Riding Hood asked, her heart pounding. The tree's whispers encouraged her, filling her with an unexplainable strength. "Here it is, I have rivers but no water, forests but no trees, and cities but no people. What am I?" the wolf challenged, his eyes glinting with mischief. Little Red Riding Hood's mind raced. She thought about the journey she had taken through the forest, the maps she had seen in her grandmother's cottage, and then it clicked. "A map!" she exclaimed. The wolf's eyes widened in disbelief. "Correct," he growled, momentarily taken aback. "Very well, you may pass. But know this, I'll be watching." With that, he stepped aside, and Little Red Riding Hood dashed past him, heart racing with excitement. As she neared her grandmother's cottage, the familiar scent of baked bread filled the air, and her heart swelled with joy. She knocked on the door, and her grandmother answered, her face lighting up with happiness. "Oh, my dear girl! I was starting to worry." They embraced, the warmth of love enveloping them both. "Grandma, you won't believe what happened!" Little Red Riding Hood exclaimed, sharing her adventure with the wolf and the mysterious tree. Her grandmother listened intently, eyes wide with amazement. Suddenly, a rustle came from outside. Little Red Riding Hood peered out the window and spotted the wolf lingering at the edge of the forest, watching her intently. "What if he comes back?" she asked, a shiver running down her spine. Her grandmother smiled gently. "Sometimes, those who seem frightening can become something else entirely. It's up to you to decide how you want to see him. Perhaps there's more to his story than you know." Little Red Riding Hood felt a surge of understanding. She realized that the adventure she had just experienced had taught her something valuable. The world was filled with mysteries, and even the most intimidating creatures could hide unexpected depths. As they shared their afternoon tea, Little Red Riding Hood's thoughts drifted back to the wolf. "Maybe I should talk to him again," she mused, a plan forming in her mind. "What if he isn't so bad after all?" And so, the adventure of Little Red Riding Hood was far from over. The forest held many secrets, and perhaps a friendship with the wolf could lead to new and exciting journeys. As night fell, Little Red Riding Hood gazed out at the moonlit forest, her heart filled with anticipation. What awaited her in the days to come? Would she uncover the truth about the wolf? With dreams of adventure swirling in her mind, Little Red Riding Hood settled in for the night, ready to embrace whatever awaited her in the morning light. The next chapter of her story was just beginning. As Little Red Riding Hood settled into her warm bed, the gentle sounds of the forest lulled her into a peaceful slumber. But as the moonlight cast a soft glow over her dreams, another adventure began to unfold elsewhere. In a quaint village not far from the enchanted forest, there lived a young boy named Jack. His life was filled with ordinary days, but he yearned for something extraordinary. Little did he know that fate had a magical surprise in store for him, a surprise that would lead him up a towering beanstalk and into a world filled with giants, treasures, and thrilling challenges. And so, dear reader, let us turn our attention to Jack and his remarkable journey, beginning with the fateful day when he traded his beloved cow for a handful of mysterious magic beans. What adventures awaited him beyond the clouds? Let's find out together in the tale of Jack and the Beanstalk. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a young boy named Jack. He was known for his adventurous spirit, but his family was very poor. One day, Jack's mother told him to take their old cow to the market and sell her for some money. With a heavy heart, Jack set off on his journey. On his way to the market, Jack met a peculiar old man who offered him 5 magical beans in exchange for the cow. The old man claimed that these beans would grow into a beanstalk that reached the sky. Intrigued by the promise of adventure, Jack eagerly accepted the trade and hurried home, excited to show his mother the beans. When Jack arrived home, his mother was furious. "You foolish boy," she exclaimed, throwing the beans out the window. "We need money, not these worthless beans." But overnight, something magical happened. The beans took root and grew into a gigantic beanstalk that stretched high into the clouds. The next morning, Jack awoke to see the beanstalk towering above his house, shimmering in the sunlight. Filled with curiosity and courage, he decided to climb it. Up, up, up he went, leaving his worries behind. At the top, he discovered a whole new world, an enormous castle in the clouds, belonging to a giant. As Jack explored, he found marvelous treasures, a golden harp that sang sweet melodies and a hen that laid golden eggs. But just as he was gathering his loot, the giant returned home, stomping heavily on the ground. Jack hid behind a massive pillar, holding his breath, hoping the giant wouldn't discover him. The giant, grumbling about his missing treasures, soon fell asleep, and Jack saw his chance. He quickly grabbed the golden harp and the hen, and began to climb down the beanstalk. Just as he reached the bottom, he heard the giant roar, "Fee-fi-fo-fum! I smell the blood of an Englishman!" Panicked, Jack called out to his mother for help. "Mom! Quick! Grab an axe!" His mother, still in shock from the beanstalk's sudden appearance, quickly fetched the axe. As Jack started to chop down the beanstalk, the giant began to descend after him. With every chop, the beanstalk shook, and Jack could hear the giant's footsteps growing closer. Finally, with one last powerful swing, he cut through the stem, and the beanstalk began to fall. The giant tumbled down with a loud crash, and Jack and his mother rejoiced. They celebrated their newfound wealth with the golden hen and the magical harp. Jack learned to be wise with his riches and promised never to let greed guide his actions again. But as the sun set over their village, a lingering question hung in the air. What other secrets lay hidden in the clouds above? Would the giant return? Jack's adventures were far from over, and as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, the promise of new tales awaited just beyond the horizon. As Jack and his mother reveled in their newfound fortune, they decided to use their riches to help others in their village. They built a new home, repaired the roofs of their neighbors, and provided food for those who were hungry. The village flourished, and everyone admired Jack's bravery and generosity. But deep in Jack's heart, a flicker of curiosity remained. He often gazed up at the sky, wondering about the giant and the world beyond the clouds. One evening, while sitting outside, he noticed a faint glow shimmering above, as if the clouds themselves were whispering secrets. "Mom," Jack said, excitement bubbling in his chest, "what if there's more up there? What if there are more adventures waiting for us?" His mother smiled softly, understanding his adventurous spirit. "It's always wise to be cautious, Jack. But the world is vast, and sometimes, it's okay to explore it, as long as you remember where home is." Encouraged by his mother's words, Jack decided to prepare for another journey. He wanted to climb the beanstalk once more, to discover what lay above. That night, he packed a small bag with essentials, a bit of food, a sturdy rope, and, most importantly, his mother's trusty axe. The next morning, with the sun shining brightly, Jack looked up at the towering beanstalk. His heart raced with excitement and a touch of fear. Climbing slowly, he thought of the treasures he had discovered and the giant he had outsmarted. Would he face the giant again? Or would he find something even more magical? Reaching the top, Jack was greeted by a breathtaking view. The clouds were soft and fluffy, and the castle loomed ahead, majestic and mysterious. Taking a deep breath, Jack stepped forward. As he entered the castle, he felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Inside, he noticed that everything seemed different. The treasures were still there, but the atmosphere was quiet, almost eerie. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed through the halls, "Fee-fi-fo-fum. Who dares to enter my castle?" Jack's heart raced as he hid behind a large tapestry, but this time he was ready. He had learned from his previous encounter. Gathering his courage, he called out, "It's me, Jack. I've come to talk, not to steal." To his surprise, the giant appeared, not angry but curious. "You again, boy? Why are you back?" "I want to know more about you," Jack replied, stepping out from his hiding spot. "There must be more to this story than just treasure and fear." The giant, taken aback, scratched his head. "You're a brave one, Jack. Not many would dare to return." "Very well, let's talk." As they sat together, Jack learned about the giant's life, how he was lonely, how he had guarded his treasures because they were all he had, and how he missed having friends. They talked for hours, and Jack realized that the giant was not a monster but a creature longing for connection. From that day on, Jack and the giant forged an unlikely friendship. They began to share stories and laughter, and Jack invited the giant to visit his village. With Jack's encouragement, the giant learned to befriend the villagers too, who, at first, were wary but soon grew to appreciate his gentle nature and the kindness he had to offer. And so, Jack's adventures continued, not just in treasure hunting but in building friendships and understanding. Together, they discovered that true riches lie not in gold or jewels, but in the bonds we create with one another. As the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Jack and the giant looked out over the land below, their hearts full of hope and excitement for the adventures yet to come. The story of Jack and his friendship with the giant reminds us that sometimes, when we face our fears and open our hearts, we can find unexpected allies and new beginnings. And perhaps, just perhaps, this was only the beginning of Jack's remarkable journey. What other wonders awaited them in the clouds? What new challenges would they face together? Only time would tell. As Jack and the giant continued their adventures, weaving through the clouds and exploring the wonders of their newfound friendship, a new tale began to take shape in a land not too far away. This is the story of Snow White, a princess with a heart as pure as snow and a spirit as bright as the stars. Her journey, filled with magic, kindness, and the triumph of love, is one that weaves through dark forests and enchanted realms. One fateful day, as Snow White wandered through the woods, she encountered a world unlike any other, a place where friendships blossomed and true beauty shone from within. But, like any great adventure, it was not without its challenges. Join me as we delve into the enchanting story of Snow White, where we will meet talking animals, brave dwarfs, and a wicked queen, all intertwined in a tale of courage, friendship, and the search for true happiness. What will happen next in Snow White's journey? Let's find out together. Once upon a time, in a kingdom nestled between majestic mountains and shimmering lakes, there lived a beautiful princess named Snow White. Her skin was as pale as freshly fallen snow, her lips as red as a ripe apple, and her hair as dark as the night sky. But despite her beauty, Snow White's heart was even more radiant. She was kind, gentle, and loved by all creatures, big and small. However, not everyone admired her. Snow White's stepmother, the queen, was a powerful sorceress who possessed a magic mirror. Every day, she would stand before the mirror and ask, "Mirror, mirror, on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And every day, the mirror would reply, "You, my queen, are fair, it's true. But Snow White is even fairer than you." This made the queen furious. Jealous of Snow White's beauty and the love she received from the people, the queen devised a wicked plan to eliminate her. One day, she summoned a huntsman and ordered him to take Snow White deep into the forest and ensure that she would never return. As Snow White ventured into the forest with the huntsman, she felt a sense of foreboding. The trees loomed tall and dark, casting eerie shadows on the ground. "What if I get lost?" she wondered aloud, her heart racing. The huntsman, seeing her fear, hesitated. He knew he could not harm the innocent princess, so he concocted a different plan. "Run, dear princess," he urged. "Run as far as you can, and do not look back. I cannot harm you, but the queen must not know you are alive." With a thankful heart, Snow White fled deeper into the forest, her footsteps swift and silent. After running for what felt like hours, she stumbled upon a quaint little cottage nestled among the trees. Feeling exhausted, she knocked gently on the door, but no one answered. Gathering her courage, she opened the door and stepped inside. The cottage was cozy and inviting, filled with the sweet scent of freshly baked bread and the sound of gentle humming. Snow White looked around and discovered that the home belonged to 7 dwarfs, each one unique and full of character. There was Doc, the wise leader; Grumpy, the one with a soft heart beneath his tough exterior; Happy, always laughing; Sleepy, who could barely keep his eyes open; Bashful, shy but sweet; Sneezy, who was always sneezing; and Dopey, who didn't speak but brought joy with his playful antics. They returned home from a day of mining to find Snow White, and after a moment of surprise, they welcomed her with open arms. "Stay with us, lovely princess," they exclaimed. "We will keep you safe from the queen." Snow White felt a warmth in her heart, realizing she had found friends in the most unexpected place. They shared stories and laughter, and for the first time in a long while, Snow White felt truly happy. But unbeknownst to them, the wicked queen soon discovered that Snow White was still alive. "What treachery is this?" she snarled, glaring into her magic mirror. "I will finish what I started." With a wicked grin, she devised new plans to deceive and destroy Snow White. Disguised as an old woman, she prepared a poisoned apple, planning to lure the princess into a trap. Meanwhile, in the cozy cottage, Snow White and the dwarfs worked together, keeping the darkness of the queen's malice at bay. Each night, they sang songs and told tales of bravery, unaware that danger was lurking just outside their door. As the sun set on the enchanted forest, Snow White's heart remained full of hope, and the dwarfs were determined to protect her. What would happen when the queen put her evil plan into action? Would Snow White's kindness be enough to overcome the queen's dark magic? The air was thick with anticipation, and as the moon rose high in the sky, the story of Snow White was only just beginning. What will unfold in this tale of bravery, friendship, and the battle between light and dark? Stay tuned as we continue this enchanting adventure. As the moonlight bathed the cottage in a silvery glow, Snow White and the 7 dwarfs settled in for a peaceful evening. But the queen, determined to reclaim her title as the fairest in the land, was already enacting her wicked plan. Disguised as an old woman, she approached the cottage with a basket full of luscious, red apples. "Hello there, dear children," the queen croaked, her voice deceptively sweet. "Would you like to try some delicious apples? They're the juiciest in all the land." The dwarfs, cautious and protective of Snow White, peeked through the window and saw the old woman. "Stay inside, Snow White. Don't open the door," they warned. But the queen was clever. She called out, "But my dear, your lovely voice and beauty deserve to taste these fruits. I brought this special one just for you." Curiosity piqued, Snow White approached the door. She had learned to be wary, but the old woman's warm smile was inviting. "Just one little taste," she thought, glancing at her friends, who were still urging her to stay put. Finally, Snow White opened the door, and the queen quickly pushed the apple into her hands. "Go on, dear, just one bite," she urged, her eyes gleaming with malice. Snow White hesitated, feeling a strange unease, but the apple looked so appealing. Just as she was about to take a bite, Grumpy, who had been peeking around the corner, shouted, "No! Don't do it!" But it was too late. As Snow White took a bite, the enchantment took hold. The apple was poisoned, and she collapsed to the ground, lifeless. The dwarfs rushed to her side, their hearts shattering at the sight of their beloved princess. They wept, and their tears filled the air with sadness. In their grief, they carefully placed her in a glass coffin, determined to keep her safe and watch over her. Days turned into weeks, and the queen believed she had finally won. She reveled in her triumph, feeling the power of her beauty surge back into her. But fate had other plans. One day, a prince from a neighboring kingdom happened to wander through the enchanted forest. He stumbled upon the cottage and was drawn to the mournful sight of the dwarfs gathered around the glass coffin. As he approached, his heart ached for the beautiful princess lying within. "Who is this lovely maiden?" he asked. The dwarfs told him Snow White's story, and he felt a deep sadness wash over him. Moved by compassion, the prince leaned down and gently kissed Snow White's cold lips, hoping against hope that she might awaken. To everyone's astonishment, as his lips touched hers, the magic of true love's kiss broke the queen's dark spell. Snow White's eyes fluttered open, and she gasped, taking a deep breath of life once more. Joy surged through the cottage, and the dwarfs cheered, clapping their hands in celebration. The prince and Snow White locked eyes, and in that moment, they knew they were destined for one another. But just as happiness filled the air, a furious shriek echoed through the forest. The queen, realizing her defeat, stormed towards the cottage, her face twisted in rage. "You dare defy me?" she screamed. "I will not let you have this princess." The dwarfs bravely stood in front of Snow White and the prince, ready to defend their beloved friend. As the tension built, Snow White stepped forward, her heart steady with newfound courage. "I won't let your darkness control me any longer," she declared. The queen, taken aback by Snow White's bravery, hesitated. In that moment of uncertainty, Snow White's kindness radiated, and she offered the queen a chance at redemption. "You don't have to live in fear or jealousy. You can find beauty within yourself," she said softly. The queen's icy heart began to thaw as she saw the love surrounding Snow White. In that instant, she realized how lonely her life had been and how much she craved acceptance. Slowly, she retreated into the shadows, never to be seen again. With the queen gone, peace returned to the kingdom. Snow White and the prince decided to hold a grand celebration, inviting everyone to join in the festivities. The dwarfs danced with joy, and laughter filled the air as the people celebrated the victory of love over darkness. As the sun set behind the mountains, casting a golden hue over the kingdom, Snow White and her friends knew that they had triumphed. Together, they would continue to share their adventures, always remembering that true beauty comes from within, and love can conquer all. And so, the story of Snow White, the brave dwarfs, and the prince lived on, inspiring generations to believe in the power of kindness and courage, always reminding everyone that even in the face of darkness, light can shine through. And so, they all lived happily ever after, or so they thought, for the forest still held many mysteries and adventures waiting just beyond the horizon. Did you enjoy today's episode?